This is the Louie Tee Network.
Who else could it be? Me, your man, Louie Tee. Welcome to lockdown coverage. Week number 7 in the National Football League. The Oakland Raiders taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jaguars winners of 2 straight all of a sudden, right there in the thick of things in the AFC South. Meanwhile, Raiders coming off their first loss in what seems like an eternity. Now, can they pick up the pieces against a team they're supposed to beat? I had went on the program, Will to Win. Love those guys. If you haven't already went over there and subscribed to their channel, what are you waiting on? Sub those boys up, man. Pirate and Knight, they get it done. And they have their finger on the pulse of the Raider Nation. And I was on that program, and I told them that this was a golden opportunity to get back on track. The Jags are going to turn it over. And what do you know? The Jags turned it over. I will set you guys straight, however. Don't allow your head to be blown up over this victory. You did what you were supposed to do, but it's a step in the right direction. We'll get to that a little bit later on. But as you already know, and if you don't, welcome to the Louie Tee Network. Subscribe to the Louie Tee Network if you haven't already done so. Once again, I asked the question, just like I did like 5 seconds ago. If you haven't subscribed to the Will to Win and you haven't subscribed to the Louie Tee Network, what are you waiting on? We over here changing the game, man. One live feed at a time. And I want you to be a part of that changing of the game. So subscribe to the Louie Tee Network for more great content in 2016 and beyond. I'm also on Twitter. @InTheLabRoom is the Twitter handle, man. We have some really intriguing discussions on Twitter during some of these games, especially these ones that get out of control. You never know what you're going to run into. And if you want to have your comment read, whether you're on Twitter or you're in the lab, on the chat discussion box, Twitter is also a way to have notifications when I do these videos so you know what's going on. So go ahead and follow me on Twitter @InTheLabRoom. Also, I'm on Facebook. Starting to figure out this Facebook Live thing. Really want to get that fired up in the near future. So go ahead, get ahead of the curve. In the Lab Room is the Facebook page. Go ahead and like that. So when I start doing those, you'll be on board already. All my social media platforms are right there above. As you already know, I don't break down blowouts the same way I do competitive football games. I just don't, okay? So instead of likes, dislikes, banana in the tailpipe, you get what I saw from afar. You know how I like to do it, man. When it's a blowout, when it's an ass whooping, it's what I saw from afar. And so I give you basically my takeaways from the game after watching it and what I think is going to happen moving forward with these two teams. And I always like to start with the victors. To the victors go the spoils, okay? You make the ass whoopee wait. The ass whoopers get to go first. And in this case, we're talking about the Oakland Raiders getting it done, improving to 5-2 on the season with the 33-16 victory over the Jacksonville Jaguars. First things first, before I even give you what I saw from afar, this was a big win for the Raiders, not because the Jags are any good or not because of anything like that, but because this symbolizes the growth and maturation of this team. I said that the Raiders were going to blow out the Jaguars, and they did, and they needed to. This didn't need to be a nail biter. This didn't need to come down to a 4th down stop at the end, or the Raiders needing a last-second touchdown by Derek Carr to Michael Crabtree to win you this game. This needed to be a comfortable, coasting victory because you are better than the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's what the good teams in the league do. They go and they beat the teams that they're supposed to, and they beat them handily. And that's what the Raiders did. So this is another step in the process that shows the growth and maturation of this Raiders team. Doesn't mean that the Raiders are ready for the show yet. It just means that they've checked off another box, check, in the checklist of important need-to-haves of good football teams. And they continue to check off those boxes. This was a big win, and I like the way that they got it. At the end of the day, you really don't care how you get the win. You just want it. But sometimes you need to look impressive in doing it, especially against a bad outfit like the Jaguars. And they went in and did what they were supposed to do. That being said, let's jump into this quick what I saw from afar. Raiders. Crabs with a big first half. And I talked to the guys over at Will to Win. And again, if you haven't checked out their channel, what are you waiting on? If you're a Raiders fan, you should be all over that channel. Okay? All over that channel. Those boys are covering the Raiders like a blanket. Just like your man Louie Tee is covering the entire National Football League like a blanket. Those boys are over there putting in work. Halftime reports, daily updates. These boys are doing it big over there on the Will to Win. That being said, I was on their program on Thursdays, which I'll be doing a spot with them just about every week, I think, on Thursdays. But in any event, I was on their show last week, and I said, look, don't expect a lot out of Amari Cooper this week, okay? They're going to put Jalen Ramsey on him, and he's going to shadow him, and he's going to cover Amari Cooper's ass, and he did. Okay, Amari Cooper awfully quiet in this game after having an explosion last week versus the Chiefs. But I said that's going to open up opportunities for other guys like Crabtree. And Crabtree had a big game, including a huge first half, to help the Raiders put this game somewhat out of reach. Again, like I say, when you're a good team, don't mess around with a garbage team like the Jaguars. Take the W, put it on the top shelf so those bad teams can't get to it. You don't reach up there. You don't get on a chair. That's for the grown-ups, okay? You a little kid, stay in your place. That's for the big boys up there. You can't reach up there and get that W, okay? That's on the top shelf. That's for the good teams. And so they took that W, put it up there on the top shelf where the Jags couldn't get to it in the first half with that touchdown late in the first half to Crabs to put this game out of reach. First, the big catch by Crabs to get it down to the 2-yard line, and then Crabs finishing what he started with the slant to get it to 20-6. Huge first half for Crabs. He almost had 100 in the first half. Big game for him. Slow start, great finish to the first half of the Raiders. This is a continuing trend with this team. They start slow in games. They got off to a slow start in this game. It was 6-3 for the longest, and then the Raiders finally exploded for 2 touchdowns. Murray getting in on one, and then Crabtree getting in for the second to make it 20-6 at the halftime break. Raiders continue to be a feast or famine defense. I talked about this on the Will to Win. I said they're gonna get some turnovers in this game because the Jaguars are a team that will give you opportunities to get turnovers. And I said you're gonna probably get 2 or 3 because Blake is gonna throw an interception or 2. I didn't expect the muffed punt, but you almost had another opportunity for a fumble with the running back, Chris Ivory. So opportunities galore to generate turnovers. Raiders didn't miss their opportunities. They created 3, didn't give any away. So you go +3 in a turnover differential in this game, you're going to win. That's what the Raiders have done. In their wins, they've been plus in the turnover differential. In their losses, they haven't been able to generate the turnovers necessary. And frankly, I don't know what the Jags are doing on offense. You get a 45-yard run from Chris Ivory, and he only gets 5 carries. I don't understand it. This Raiders team doesn't stop the run very well, yet you decide it's okay for Blake Bortles to throw it over 40 times. Again, I don't understand the logic, but that's nor here nor there. Raiders doing what they do best, forcing turnovers. Those turnovers turn into points. Those turnovers that turn into points turn into wins. Raiders get the job done again. Game would have been a lot more lopsided without the penalties. And anytime you have a Jeff Triplett officiated crew on your game, there's going to be a ton of laundry on the field. You saw it in this game. And this game got out of hand late. A lot of pushing, a lot of shoving, a couple of ejections. It got a little testy late. And that's just a sign of frustration on the part of the Jaguars. And they had every right to be frustrated for some of those calls, especially Malik Jackson. That was not a personal foul on Derek Carr. And he had every right to be upset about that call. And he didn't need to keep berating the officials, though. They made the call. It is what it is. Voice your frustration. You already picked up your 15-yarder. Let it be. Leave it alone. They go back out on the field for a field goal, and he's still yelling at the officials. He gets ejected. That's what happens when you got a Jeff. It's 2 officiating crews in this league that you're just going to have to deal with a ton of flags. Jeff Triplett is one. The other is Jerome Boger. If they're calling your games, you're going to have at least 20 flags in the game between the 2 teams, and maybe 15 on one and 13 on the other. These 2 officiating crews are ridiculous when it comes to flags. And you had Jeff Triplett, so you had to know there was going to be a lot of yellow on the field in this game. But if the Raiders had avoided the penalties, this game would have been a lot more. They would have scored 40, 45, 50 in this game because they had field position all game long, especially in the second half. A big return by Jalen Richard is nullified by a penalty. They had opportunities to score, and they kept shooting themselves in the foot with penalties. So this game probably would have been a lot more lopsided if the Raiders could have avoided the penalties, holding penalties, things of that nature. In any event, Raiders get it done 33-16, go to 5-2 on the season. Let's get to the Jaguars quickly and what they did in this game. Blake Bortles needs to run more. I've said this already. It seems like he forgets that he's athletic sometimes. The guy can move. He's got 2 legs, and he can actually use them rather well. On that possession early in the game before he threw the interception, they moved the football down the field, and it was a lot in part due to because he can run the football. When he decides and makes up his mind that I can run, I can get outside the pocket, he's agile and athletic enough to pick up 5, 7 here and there and really put pressure on the defense. And then you can create for guys off schedule, but he just refuses to leave the pocket, takes sacks, fumbles the football, makes poor decisions. I just don't understand why Blake Bortles finds it so hard to leave the pocket. It's okay. It's not illegal to leave the pocket. It's okay. I actually encourage that you do so. Don't understand why he refuses to do it. Blake Bortles' decision-making has not improved, nor his accuracy. Both of them, to me, are serious indictments on who he is as a football player. He struggles with accuracy still. In this game, he was erratic, ball behind receivers, too high, too low. Guys can't catch the football and get yards after the catch even though they're wide open. It's because of his accuracy. His footwork has always been bad. It has not improved, and neither has his accuracy from the pocket. That being said, his decision-making is worse than his accuracy, though. That pick on that initial scoring opportunity, that can't happen. It simply cannot happen if you're the Jacksonville Jaguars. 3 Raiders, not 1, not 2, 3 Raiders, 1 Jaguars receiver, and you decided it's a good idea to try to fit the football in there. That's not smart. Even the touchdown late to Thomas, okay, was not a good throw. Literally, Malcolm Smith had the football in his hands, and Julius Thomas had to take it from him to avoid another interception, or it would have been 3 on the day. Blake Bortles simply doesn't get it. And if you're going to throw that ball, it's okay. Drew Brees throws that same exact pass. Guess where he throws it, though? Top shelf, upstairs, where his guy can get it, and that smaller linebacker cannot. Julius Thomas is a big guy. Throw it up there, let him go get it. He throws it right where the linebacker is and forces Julius Thomas to have to take the football away from the linebacker to get the touchdown. Blake Bortles still making the same damn mistakes he was making as a rookie, and it doesn't seem to be getting any better anytime soon. Turnovers and bad decisions continue to plague this Jaguars football team. Just a ton of penalties. Guys erupting and blowing up. Jalen Ramsey getting thrown out of the game for getting in a fight. I've never heard a personal foul fighting ever in my life. I swear I hear the most unique and ridiculous calls when Jeff Triplett is on the field. In the Redskins game a few weeks back, he called Josh Norman for shooting a bow and arrow, which no one knew was a penalty because every week I turned on my television and watched Saints wide receiver Brandon Cook score a touchdown and shoot the arrow. Never knew it was a penalty until he diagnosed it as one. So every week you hear something brand new with Jeff Triplett, and you heard fighting, personal foul, fighting. Never heard that one in my life. That was new to me. 2 guys get ejected for that. And the Jaguars just continue to make bad decisions and bad plays and turnovers. I mean, you can't have the muffed punt by your punt returner there, Rashad Green. Come on, guy, catch the football. What are you doing? Seriously, that hurts. You can't do that. Blake Bortles, interception in the end zone. You can't do that. You can't have those types of turnovers. Just like I said, bad mistakes, bad decisions. You got Dante Fowler Jr. coming over wanting to pick a fight with a guy. Luckily, he doesn't get flagged, but Donald Penn does. Just poor decisions on the part of these Jaguar players. And you get Malik Jackson tossed. You get Jalen Ramsey tossed. Just really, and I understand it was not a personal foul on Malik Jackson, but at some point you got to let it go. You can't get thrown out of the game. You can't keep costing your team 15-yard penalties. Just poor decision-making by a young Jacksonville Jaguars team that it seems like Greg or Gus Bradley just doesn't have a control over any longer. It's really starting to spiral out of control in Jacksonville. And this game, to me, is a microcosm of what's going on in Jacksonville right now. He has no control over this team. None whatsoever. They're not listening. They're doing whatever the hell they want to do. And at some point, you're going to have to relieve that man of his job. And I love Gus Bradley. I wish nothing but the best for him. But I think he's a defensive coordinator in this league, not a head coach. Why don't the Jags run more? I mean, I said it earlier, and I kind of said it in passing, but let's kind of like dive into this quickly and get out of here. Blake Bortles threw it 43 times in this game. Why? Okay, a lot of these passes you could claim they came at the end when the Jags were out of it. No, they were throwing the football exclusively early in the ball game too. 5 carries for Chris Ivory. I thought he got hurt. When I saw the statistics, I said, oh, he must have got hurt because he popped one. When you see the numbers, you say, okay, he must have popped one in there or had consistent chunk runs and they just stopped giving him the ball. I said, well, maybe TJ Yeldon had more carries and less yards. Nope, not the case. They just didn't run the football. And they act as if Blake Bortles is the type of quarterback that can carry you to a victory, that you can have him throw it 45 times and he won't throw 2 or 3 interceptions with those 45 attempts. If you throw it 40 times, Blake is going to turn it over at least twice. Okay? That's a given. And I don't understand why they think it's a good idea. Against one of the poorest run defenses in the league, you're gonna run it less than 10 times with your feature back? And he had a 40, 42, 45-yard run in this game? If you think this is a good idea, you need to wash your face. Get your mind right. What's wrong with you in Jacksonville right now? I don't understand much of what they're doing in Jacksonville. It doesn't make sense. And maybe I'm not supposed to understand. And maybe it's not supposed to make sense to me. Maybe they want to lose football games. Maybe they want Gus Bradley to get fired. I don't know. But a lot of this that I'm seeing just doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. You have a turnover-prone quarterback, and you're asking him to throw it more, not less. You got a running back that could have a huge day against a porous run defense, and you give it to him less and ask your turnover-prone quarterback to throw the football more. I don't understand the logic, and I'm not going to sit here and try to make you understand the logic because it just doesn't make any sense. Jags lose again. What's new? Raiders get it done. Good for the Raiders. Let's go to your comments quickly and get out of here. Bernard543 says, sup? Raiders really stepped up on the defensive end. Granted, it's the Jags, but still a confidence booster. Let me go ahead and burst your bubble. This was a solid performance by the defense. Don't get excited. It's the Jacksonville Jaguars. You'll be tested next week. I still think you can win next week against the Buccaneers, but they're gonna light you up like a Christmas tree. Your defense is still bad. This doesn't fix anything. Just like you thought your defense was good 3 weeks ago when you beat Tennessee because they only scored 10 points. No, it's the Titans. That's why they only scored 10 points. This is a bad Jaguars offense. You were supposed to do this, and you did. It'd be more impressive if you did the same thing next week. Then I could say, hey, maybe you're getting better on defense. You're not going to do this next week because your defense is still not good. Trust me when I say this. Enrique Valencia says, as a Colts fan, I'm happy that Blake Bortles is the franchise QB for the Jags. Hopefully they get a contract. Nah, they're not going to extend him. He looks bad, man. Enrique Valencia says, also free Allen Robinson and Hearns. Neither one of them are playing great ball, especially Allen Robinson. He had a huge drop in this game. It wasn't going to change the outcome of the game, but it hit him right in his hands, and he rejected the football, literally threw it like a chest pass. He's struggling right now, too. I think the struggles of the team is starting to get to him mentally as well. James Martin, or Enrique Valencia says, if we win, the Jags lose to the Titans, will Gus be fired? I don't know. Maybe. It's possible. His time is coming. It's not looking good in Jacksonville right now. Luckily enough for him, though, the bye week has come and gone. That may save him, but it's not looking good right now. James Martin says, are the Jags winning 5 games? I think I had them at 5 before the season started. They're going to find a way to get to 4 or 5 this year. Yeah, most likely. Enrique Valencia says, I never thought Blake was any good. Last year, he was extremely overrated because of all the garbage time stats. I tried to explain that to people. They didn't really understand that concept, but he's a fantasy football quarterback because he gets a lot of garbage time stats, but when the game's on the line, he didn't play well at all. Captain Spartan 04 says, did you see my tweet about Gus Bradley and the Saints? Yeah, I saw what you said, and I would love for Gus Bradley to get a defensive coordinator job. I think he's a really good defensive coordinator. I think he has the energy to be someone's D coordinator. He's just not a head coach, and if New Orleans is the place for him, great. I'd love to see him get an opportunity with a young defense in New Orleans to try to turn some things around there because we know that offense is ready to go to the playoffs right now in New Orleans. They just need a guy that can lead them. Maybe, and we don't know that Dennis Allen isn't that guy. Maybe they just don't have enough talent in New Orleans right now. So I'm not ready to run DA out of town in New Orleans, but Gus Bradley's going to get a job somewhere. He's going to land on his feet. He's got too many connections, and he's too good of a coach. He's just not a head coach. That's all. Spidey says, he didn't say anything. All right. And so that's it. I don't have any more comments. Remember, if you want your comment read and you want to converse, make sure you use the hashtag #LouieTeeLive. And with that being said, that's what I saw from afar in this game. Another farce by the Jacksonville Jaguars. There's nothing they do makes sense these days. They don't get it done. 33-16. Raiders go to 5-2 on the season. Big win for them after the loss last week, getting thumped. They needed to have something give them some confidence, and this was exactly what the doctor ordered. Go a trip to Jacksonville. You stay in Florida for another week. You take on the Buccaneers. Maybe you sweep both of these teams. Go home feeling good about yourself at 6-2. For the Jaguars, 2 straight wins meant nothing to this team. They come home, wet the bed. Now they're 2-4 in the season, and it doesn't look like anything's getting any better. It doesn't look like they're fixing anything in Jacksonville. A lot of things wrong and broken with this franchise right now, and I think it starts with the head coach in this situation. And so, bad loss, didn't look good. A lot wrong with this Jacksonville Jaguars football team. A lot of questions, not nearly enough answers for the Jaguars right now. That's going to do it for your man Louie T here on Lockdown Coverage. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the Lab Room. Come back and join me as I continue to break down anything and everything in the National Football League. Remember, we're changing the game one live feed at a time. I will see you guys a little bit later on. Got plenty more games, including Chiefs and Saints coming down the pipeline a little bit later, as well as Falcons and Chargers and Vikings and Eagles. All of those games coming and more. I'll see you a little bit later on. Have a good one.